This is the No More Wasted Days podcast, and we're your hosts, Sarah Kaufman Bradstreet
and Heather PG. Grab your favorite NA drink and listen as we share vulnerable stories so you never feel alone on your alcohol-free journey.
And gain insights from us as we break down our most used tips and strategies that have kept us alcohol-free.
It's time to break free from wasting any more of your days to the drinking, blackout, hangover cycle.
Welcome to another episode of the No More Wasted Days podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sarah.
I'm Heather.
And today we are talking about one of me and Heather's favorite topics. We're going to be talking about goal setting, but in particular, you're going to be envisioning your best alcohol-free year yet for 2025. And this is perfect because it comes out on New Year's Eve. And for me and Heather, we're actually recording it 2 weeks early. So I told Heather we're getting a sneak peek into all these goal setting tips and strategies that I'm going to have for us. So me and Heather will have our vision board done.
Yeah.
But you, the listener, you can start today. It's never too late. I think sometimes people get past the first of the year and they're like, well, I don't even know if I should set this goal. I think it is so important. And I really want you to imagine yourself waking up on January 1st, 2026, proud, energized, and alcohol-free. And as we go through this episode, I want you to think, what did you do to get there? What did you do in 2025 to get you to that place in 2026? And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, because we're going to help you set a powerful vision for your best alcohol-free year yet. And this is one of my favorite topics because when I first quit drinking, I came up with this idea of Summer Sarah 2.0 because I quit drinking in May and I was really worried about Summer Sarah. Summer Sarah really liked to drink. She was just a major drink and party girl. And I was like, this is going to be really hard to get through summer. Maybe I chose the worst time of the year to quit drinking. And then I decided, what if it's going to be my best summer ever? What if it's Summer Sarah 2.0? So I want you to start thinking about yourself in your alcohol-free life as you 2.0. And think about how you can achieve so much more now that you're not drunk, you're not hungover, you're not wasting your thinking space to drinking. You just get to focus all your energy on whatever the heck you want to. So it's just one of my favorite topics to share with the day makers within our podcast. And I know Heather feels the same.
I do. I'm extremely excited. And this is something I look forward to every New Year's Eve since I quit drinking. New Year's Eve wasn't actually a big celebration for me. Did I drink? Absolutely. This is what I live for on New Year's Eve now.
Oh my gosh. I know. I've already been I think I'm going to start my vision board now because my family does a whole presentation of the vision board on January 1st. So I know my kids, I don't know if they like it. I think they think it's really nerdy and they just play around because I am so excited about it. But I make them on Canva. I'm going to walk the day make through this process. And I was just thinking maybe I should teach this to the people, to everyone, because it's just such a cool thing that really lights me up and lights Heather up too.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Before we dive all the way into the topic, I want to tell you, you can still join the Push to 100. Enrollment closes on January 1st at midnight. So if you're listening to this podcast episode on the day that it releases, that is New Year's Eve, you still have time to think about this, but it's time to make your final decision on if you're going to join me to go through your first 100 days of being alcohol-free. And I've had some people ask me, can I join if I'm already alcohol-free? Absolutely. Then I'll help you walk through the next 100 days of your alcohol-free journey, if that makes sense. We're going to have videos to help support you through the whole 100 days. There's going to be text access to me and the group in a private message thread community that we'll have with all of the members of the Push to 100 and me. And then there's going to be 9 group coaching calls as we go through. So essentially it's 2 group coaching calls each month of the challenge. And then 1 more that happens in April that will be our big celebration Zoom at the end of the challenge. So check out the link in the show notes. Remember, you can go check it out while you're listening to this podcast episode. You can go scroll, find out all the information, and you can even shoot an email to me if you have questions. That's Sarah@nomorewasteddays.co. So send that email if you have questions, and I hope to see you in the challenge.
Yeah. I think this is going to be so valuable with that time frame too.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, starting off the year, I did it with a very, very small group last year. And some of those members are still in the Daymakers community now. And it's just so cool to now see them almost hitting their 1 year mark. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, my push to 100 people. It's such a cool thing. So check it out. All right. We are going to talk about first why a vision for yourself matters. Then we're going to talk about how to create your 2025 vision. And I'm going to give you a step-by-step framework to do that. And that's what I'm excited to work through on my own after I record this. And then we're going to have some real life inspiration telling you all about some goals that we hit in our alcohol-free journey just to inspire you. All right, let's first talk about why vision matters. I want you to think about setting your intention for the year. Setting intentions for the year provides clarity and focus. It's helping you align your actions with your values and long-term goals. And it creates a roadmap for personal growth, allowing you to approach each day with purpose and build momentum toward a fulfilling and meaningful life. And what I love about all of that is that you're going to think about these really big goals for yourself, this really big vision for yourself. Then you're able to start going, what are the daily things I can do to start supporting that version of myself? And then I want you to remember that it's important to create clear and actionable visions instead of really vague resolutions. So you might want to say something like, oh, I want to drink less in 2025, but that lacks specificity and it'll just fade away because it won't have a clear path forward. But if you have clear and actionable visions, it'll really define what success looks like for that. So maybe you'll say, I will complete 100 days alcohol free by following a structured plan. And then you can provide the steps you need to do to turn those intentions into reality. Or maybe it's, I will be alcohol free throughout the whole year. Here are the tools that I'm going to use to support this goal.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that when you get really clear and specific, you gain a lot of creativity as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sometimes you can think like, oh, if I get too specific, it's going to feel really rigid. But it really doesn't, because all of a sudden you actually are able to do the intentional work you need to do, and then it starts blossoming and coming into life. So alcohol-free living allows for clarity, focus, and purpose that drinking might have clouded. For years, as a drinker, my goals were kind of blurry, but even if they were specific and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm dreaming really big, I had the hardest time hitting the goals because I would decide that drinking was more important than working on those goals that happen to me so much. Like, oh, who cares? I'll just go ahead and drink. I'll work on those goals tomorrow. Or I'd be too hungover to work on hitting the goals. And once I removed alcohol, my ability to dream and create plans like skyrocketed.
Same here. Yes.
Yeah, it's just, the world opens up to you when you quit drinking. And that is something that I was not expecting. I was kind of like, oh, I won't be hungover anymore. I'll remember everything because I won't be blacking out anymore. Like, I just wasn't expecting this like total clarity that you have in your life. And a lot of it is because you're doing the work on figuring out what your values are. You're doing the work on figuring out who you really are, which is just work you weren't able to do when you were alcohol free. Are you ready to create your 2025 vision?
I was born ready.
All right. All right. For step one, I want you to reflect on where you are right now. Some questions you can ask yourself are, what do I love about my life today? And I might have Heather answer some of these just so you know. And what is holding me back? And then how has alcohol impacted my past years, emotionally, physically, socially? So that one is more specific for if you are a drinker right now as you're listening to this, and one of your goals for 2025 is to become a non-drinker. But for me, what do I love about my life today? I love the freedom that I've created in my life, that I don't go to a typical 9-to-5 job. Today, I was actually stressing out like, oh, I have so much to do today. And then I stepped back and I was like, you don't have to put on real pants for any of the stuff you have to do today. So quit your bitching and go record your podcast and have lots of fun. But I just love that freedom that I've created in my life. But what is holding me back is something that I always feel like the house build's holding me back. And then I have to remember that the house build was one of my huge dreams for myself. How about you?
Some of the things I love about my life today are I'm living the goals that I created back in 21, 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
One's a podcast, owning my own business. I mean, right down to like having longer hair, a cat named Kidney Houston, better sleep. The little things to the big things. What is
Yeah.
holding me back outside of one situation that I can't control is me.
Yeah. That's what I always come to when I think, oh, the house build's holding me back. I'll always stop and I'll be like, it's actually your mindset towards the house build. Because the house build is this huge, enormous dream that you've had for yourself and you're getting to make it happen. And then I'll always go, oh, like it really is just my mindset that's holding me back. I thought of something so cool I was going to say to you. Oh, I know what it was. As far as casting your vision goes, my parents got out this book that I wrote when I was like in fifth grade about having a dog and how bad I wanted this dog. And in the book, I wrote something like, I wish I was like my friend Crystal. We'll pretend that was the name I wrote down. I wish I was like my friend Crystal. She has so many animals. And then it showed Crystal, and I drew a picture of this girl with a dog, a cat, a bunny, and birds. And I looked at my kids and I said, whoa, I manifested the person I am today
Yeah.
way back in fifth grade. Like I casted that vision. So if you think it's silly, just be like, oh my gosh, Sarah wanted to be a person with so many animals when she was like in fifth grade. So when I was 10, and now I'm a 45-year-old that does have a bunny and a dog and a cat and chickens and ducks. So
Yeah.
go figure.
That's amazing. One thing, my daughter wants a dog, and I'm not ready for that commitment. And every night in our gratitude, I usually say I'm thankful for the dog that we haven't gotten yet.
Step 2. So step 1, remember, you went through everything that's going right in your life right now. Where are you right now? You're going through what do you love about your life? What's holding you back? So now step 2, envision your future self. This is my favorite thing. You want to go through a visualization where you really get clear about what does your alcohol-free life look like 1 year from now. So say you're alcohol-free for all of 2025. What does it look like when you get to 2026? How does it feel? Have you changed physically, mentally? Maybe where you live has even changed. You just really get clear on that vision. And then how do you feel? Who are you surrounded by? What are you achieving? And I want to encourage you to write down a very detailed vision for 2025 and have so much fun with this. Like if it feels like, oh, I don't know if I should put that one down, put it down. Have you started doing this at all for 2025 yet?
Mentally, yes.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah. I know I've got a few where I told my family, I'm like, I want us to go on an adventure every month. It doesn't have to be a hike. It doesn't have to be outdoorsy. I just want a little bit more adventure. So start thinking about those things. And then step 3 is set tangible goals. So I want you to start thinking about setting goals in these areas: your health, relationships, career, hobbies, personal growth, and financial goals. And when I do this with the Daymakers, I give them these 6 areas to go through. And you can do this on a piece of notebook paper, right? Put the 6 quadrants, draw them on there, and really just start writing, okay, I'm looking at my vision from 2025. Now, where do all those things go as far as the goals? Where do I put them onto this grid that I just created for myself? So if I'm saying, okay, I want more adventure in my life. I want more travel in my life, even if it's just, driving 1 hour from where we live. We live in a really cool area where there's a lot of stuff to see. So that's possible. So I'm just like, okay, where does that fit in for me? And for me, that fits into my hobbies or my personal growth even. And it could even be my relationships with my kids. That one can really hit a few areas, right? And then after you go through those 6 areas and you have those tangible goals set, so maybe you have a financial goal of saving so much money this year or getting a new job that will make you more money type thing. Start breaking down those large goals into smaller, manageable goals. So if you're expecting to have this huge savings by the end of the year as one of your financial goals, how do you have to do that? How much money do you have to make each month? How much money is that each week? How are you going to set it up? Are you going to put it in a savings account? Are you going to talk to a financial advisor and figure out a way to invest it? Really start thinking about those little things. Same with being alcohol free. How are you going to do it? Are you going to sign up for the Daymakers for at least 1 month just to catapult you into your journey? Are you going to start with something bigger like the Push to 100? Are you going to do local AA meetings? Download the app to help you find local AA meetings and just start looking and be like, does one feel right to me? Are you going to drink more LaCroix? Are you going to drink more kombucha? Like, really think about the small little parts that go into being alcohol free. Line up 12 different quit lit books that you want to read. Make a big list of sober podcasts. Go start following sober content creators. So you're just creating this little alcohol free world.
I wanted to say, if you want to meet with me one-on-one and talk about this plan, specifically around alcohol or any
Yes.
plan that you have, please check out the notes, because this is what I do with folks. Exactly. Well, I do a lot of things, and this like planning and creating a strategy that is for the people I work with.
Yeah.
So,
And it is so nice to have an outsider look at your goals, because I think sometimes you can look and say, like, okay, I want to run a half marathon this year. And then you get really stuck and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do it. But a coach can go, okay, let's pull back and say, like, okay, well, how far can you run now? How are we going to work up to this? And the coach will even do it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but like, you'll even do some of the research to say, like, hey, I found this, this, and this. Why don't you check it out? Is that something you do?
yes, absolutely. I like for folks to be active participants, right? And come up with what works for them. And that's where the magic happens, when we all work together.
And the next step is definitely something that I know Heather would help you with if you worked with her one-on-one, is start building the daily habits that support your vision. So you've envisioned your future self, you've set tangible goals for yourself, but now you're going to start thinking, what daily habits will help me get to those goals? How can I do this? So if something was like, I'm going to save so much money by the end of the year. Well, can I actually keep going to the store every single day and buying discount pastry items? I may or may not be talking about myself right now. And I'm like, actually, the pastry items I buy, they're not very expensive. And so I could justify that I could still get them. But I could also go, well, if I didn't go, that's like about $5 each week. And if $5 each week equals this, so you get it. Just kind of really think about those daily habits. And then start thinking about, what daily habits can you add that will support your mental, emotional, and physical health, so you're more equipped to hit those goals. So the things that we talk about when we talk about routines, and we talk about journaling, meditating, moving our body, getting enough sleep, those are habits that maybe feel like they're not helping you hit certain goals unless you've put one of those into like your personal growth area or your health area. But all of those are making you become the person that's more equipped to be the alcohol-free version of yourself.
Yeah. And when you do these habits every day and they become a part of your daily practice, you'll find where the magic happens. I'll give an example. When I listen to my happy playlist, I'm driving down the road, that's where my best ideas come from. That helps me reach the goal. Be like,
Yeah.
So I think that's really key too. When you make it a daily practice, you'll be really surprised at how it does support your vision.
Yeah, exactly. And that segues in perfectly. I wanted to first talk about habit stacking. When you start going, okay, I know I need to start some of these daily habits. Habit stacking is an idea. I want to say it's from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, but I could be totally wrong about that because I've read a lot of habits books. And one thing I will say about that book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, he says, think about the person you want to be. What habits does that person have? And that's something that I held on to when I first quit drinking. Think about a non-drinker. What habits do they have? What do they do? And that's why I started my morning routine. I was like, oh, I bet a person who doesn't drink, they're really good at a morning routine. I mean, now I've met a lot of alcohol-free people and they don't all have morning routines, but in my brain, that was something that I saw in that vision. So I started doing it. But the idea of habit stacking, I think this one is actually in the book, The Power of Habit. And I'll link all these habit books because they're so good. So in The Power of Habit, they talk about habit stacking. So then you're going to be looking at, you already have the habit every day to brush your teeth. What if you paired that with another habit? Like, while I'm brushing my teeth, I'm going to think about 3 things I can be grateful for. Or right when I'm done brushing my teeth is when I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z. So really start stacking those things. If you wake up every morning and the first thing you do is feed your cat, then fill up your water bottle and chug it right after you feed your cat. That's one that I started doing this year. And finally, I'm getting enough water in. Like I've started stacking that water habit. It was hard for me to get. But that also leads into then the compound effect, which is a book that's actually called The Compound Effect. And as we're talking right now, I totally can't remember the author, but I'm going to link that as well. This morning when I was writing it down, I was like, oh, I know the author. I don't need to write this down. And now here I am, not knowing it. But the compound effect is where, like Heather was saying, you start doing those little things each day, and all of a sudden it starts getting bigger and bigger actions start coming to your life. So you start by meditating 5 minutes every single day. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, okay, I meditate 5 minutes every day. And now I'm starting to see that I have more patience in my day. I feel more present in my day. You start to see these bigger things. And in the book, they compare it to when you're like flying on a plane. If you get off course just a little bit when you're flying a plane, it takes you to the totally wrong spot, like way off, even by just being a little bit off course, because the compound effect isn't working for you then. But if you're totally on course doing those little teeny tiny things every single day, you get to the bigger destination.
I love that's a great analogy. My daddy was a pilot, and then just like my mind just got blown. So thank you.
Right. I know when I heard that one, I was like, oh, I would be a terrible pilot because I feel like I'm always just a little bit off.
And my dad was significantly ADHD, and he managed to do it. So I think a lot of it is just that habit stack. I don't know about, I'm not a pilot, but the habit stacking and then the compounding effect of making these things in practice, it keeps us in the road. It keeps our plane from veering far, far to the left.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are thinking, well, how do I come up with all these habits? Go back to the big vision you wrote for yourself for 2025. Then go to your grid where you wrote down all your goals from that vision, and then start going, okay, I want to be alcohol free in 2025. What are the small habits I can do to support that? Maybe it's every time I go to the grocery store, I buy a new alcohol free drink. Make it simple, but write those things down and really say, these are things I'm going to do. These are habits I'm going to start having. All right. So step 5 is overcoming roadblocks. You're going to have obstacles along the way. Like you're going to have these huge goals on January 1st. You're going to be so excited. You're going to maybe share your vision board with your family like I do. And then on January 2nd, you're going to start the things and you're going to be like, look at me, I'm doing it. And somewhere about like January 15th, things start, like life starts happening. And maybe you're trying to be alcohol free and cravings are kicking in, or there's social pressures, or you're just having moments of doubt. You're being like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can actually do this. What was I thinking? I can't tell you how many big goals I have for like the year. And by like January 15th, I'm like, okay, we do need to pare down this list. And some of that is healthy to do, but some of them are the super important goals, like being alcohol free. So I want you to start having a plan for handling those challenges. You can use accountability or mindset shifts or support systems. And as far as accountability goes, that can be with friends. It can be in-person support groups. So if you're quitting drinking, do something like AA. If you have a goal to start running, find a running club, join a gym, find a workout group that you go with. That's an in-person support group. It doesn't all have to be like where you stand up at a meeting and say, hi, my name is Sarah. And then think about online communities you can have too. I do this by just building out my algorithm by saying, okay, I want to do this type of workout more. I'm going to go follow people that do this. And then I follow them for a while. And if I like them, I keep following them. And if I don't like them, I unfollow them. So I really keep my algorithm supporting my best life. How do you do accountability?
I love that. That's a great tip. So how I do accountability is I will often let someone know, hey, I'm going to send you a picture of the end result. And it could be some of those little habits that we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I work with a therapist and a coach, and that helps because once I give air to it, then we circle back to it next session.
Mm-hmm.
That's helpful. I have those huge Post-it notes that I write in just big, like bright colors to myself so I can see them.
I like that.
I tell people. I tell my best friend everything. So I think the more you tell, the more you feel like you're going to need to do it.
Exactly. You have to be accountable then because you're saying it out loud to other people. And then as far as mindset shifts go, we talk about creating a mindset shift, shifting from a mindset of deprivation to a mindset of abundance. And to do that with an alcohol-free life, like, it's really easy to look at being alcohol free as a punishment when you start. You're like, oh man, I started drinking too much. And now I've gotten myself into a situation where I drink so much that I have to quit drinking. And this is going to be terrible. This is going to be so boring. This is going to be so hard. When you're in that, that's where you start looking at it as a gift. And Heather talked about this in our last episode that aired on Christmas Eve. She talked about the fact that you're going to change one thing. You're going to quit drinking. But what are you going to gain from all of that? So you're saying no to one thing. What are you now saying yes to? That's being in that mindset of abundance. So really start looking at like all of the amazing things that are going to come to your way because you're going to go for these big goals. Because that's the thing too with big goals, they take sacrifice in certain areas. To get something really big, you're going to have to sacrifice some other areas of your life. And that's just what it is. But if you can really focus on the what you're gaining from it, then it becomes more crystal clear on why you're doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you just hit the nail on the head, Sarah.
Yeah. Thank you. And then going from those 5 actionable tips. So just remember to go through those 5 steps, really do that. And then you can make a vision board out of these goals. That's where you find pictures to represent each of the goals, and you can print off that vision board where you can see it. You can make it electronically on an app called Canva, Canva. And there, it's a free version for it that you can use, or you can do it like craft style, where you get a bunch of magazines, you're cutting out the pictures of the things you want, and you're putting it onto poster board. So whatever feels, float your boat right there. I like to do it on Canva because then I make it the background of my phone. And then every time I open my phone, I look at it.
Love that.
And then I thought it would be cool for just Heather and I to each kind of share something that we achieved as non-drinkers that we thought was totally not possible when we first quit drinking or when we were drinkers. And my example is building no more wasted days. Like, I started this small, and it's not a huge business yet, but it's still like grown so much. It started with me doing 30-day alcohol-free challenges with friends on Facebook. That's what I started doing. There wasn't a name to it. It was just me going, hey, I quit drinking a few months ago, and I've really helped me in so many ways. Who wants to do this with me? That was it. And then because friends were doing it and I could see that change happening for them, I was like, oh, I think I could do this. So I started sharing about it on TikTok. That's where I shared about it all the time. And I made a deal with myself that I would make a TikTok every other day. That was my deal with myself. Now I make one basically every day. And then I started posting on Instagram and then on Facebook. So I went really slowly with everything. And that's what I want you to see. Like, the slow things are going to compound. And then I became more comfortable in those areas. And I started a podcast where I could make longer form content for people. So just really think about how you can start these really tiny things. So maybe this year it is like, I'm going to be alcohol free. This is my goal. This is my huge thing. Next year, it's something like, okay, I'm going to start working out more consistently. The next year, it's something else. It's just like compounding all those little habits together to become something bigger and bigger. Heather, do you have an example? I'm totally putting Heather on the spot here.
No, it's great. I have 2. So I had always wanted to start a podcast, and I've always heard like, oh, you have a nice voice. You should have a podcast. God knows I love to talk. Drinking and podcasting, I'm sure, do not go hand in hand, nor do you follow through in any of the other things that I was as a drinker. So I was leading a check-in call for the Daymakers. That's where I had my idea. So I started my first podcast 3 years ago. Then after I did that led to me going to life coaching school, which led to opening my own business. And I've helped hundreds of people just in that alone. And that's an amazing example to me of how like one thing of like, I want to start a podcast, led to school, led to opening a business, led to helping other people. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, it's huge. That's kind of how it was with like, oh, I'm going to lead these 30-day alcohol-free challenges with friends. I had no idea. I mean, obviously that wouldn't have happened if I didn't quit drinking. It's hard to run an alcohol-free business if you're drinking, obviously, but it's just those little things. What was your other one? You said you were going to share too. I love hearing these.
So, if y'all been listening for a while or you haven't, I quit Sour Patch Kids back in February.
Oh, yeah.
Of 2024. That change led me to like a health and wellness journey, if you will. I've
Mm-hmm.
lost 45 pounds.
Whoa, Heather, I had no idea.
And yeah, I have like drastically changed what I eat, how I move. And it started with quitting Sour Patch Kids. So I think those are two pretty good examples of how one thing,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm going to start a podcast from my phone. I'm going to talk about my cancer journey. And I'm going to quit Sour Patch Kids because this is out of flipping control, y'all. Go back and listen. It's a doozy. And then I was like, oh, I noticed some weight loss. I started feeling better. And then it just kept on going. Now I'm working with a fitness and nutrition coach, wellness coach, and like investing in myself in that way.
I love that. One of my goals for 2025 is going to be to lose some weight. I keep saying I'm going to do it. And I was finally like, okay, this is it. One of our day makers, who also did the push to 100 last year, she said, this is my year. And she called it, I'm not going to say her name because I don't have her permission. So I'm going to use a fake name. She said, it's the year of Cynthia. So I keep walking around going, it's the year of Sarah. 2025 is going to be the year of Sarah. But she went through and just did little things. She was alcohol free. She focused on that for the first portion. Then she made a deal she was going to move her body this amount of time. Then she made a deal with herself that she was going to like start drinking water. Then she made a deal that she was going to start taking more vacations. And it really has just been the year of Cynthia. And it's just been really cool to watch. It's been really inspiring to me to be like, okay, it's time. It's time for me to come back and do the year of Sarah. So now you
I
all
love
will
it.
get to follow along with us.
I'm taking it. The year of Heather.
I know. I told her on one of our calls, I'm like, I'm taking that.
Yeah, I love it. I'm
Yeah.
to let her to thank her for us.
I will for sure. All right. So I just want you to really go through, do the reflecting, envisioning, set the goals, build habits, and remember to think about how you're going to overcome those challenges. And I want you to do one thing right now. Grab a notebook and write down one part of your 2025 vision. Start small and then start dreaming big. And if you're doing this, I want you to snap a picture if you feel comfortable doing it and tag us on social media. I'll put our links in the show notes, or email us and let us know. I'll put both of our emails in and just say, I listened to your New Year's podcast and I was just inspired. Here's one of my big goals for 2025. And if you're really ready to start hitting some of those goals, please remember to check out Heather's coaching. That is such a great tool to use if you are interested in hitting these goals but want a little more support. Check out the Push to 100 so you can get those first 100 days of being alcohol free under your belt, or to look at the Daymakers community, which is an ongoing community that we have where you can always be talking to me and Heather. Just remember that your best year is waiting for you. It starts with a single choice, and let 2025 be the year that you surprise yourself.
Yes. We can't wait to hear what you've chosen and how you're going to choose yourself. And we'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.